Welcome back to the channel, and in today's video, we are tackling one of the most stylish and action-packed games from the early 2000s, Viewtiful Joe for the Nintendo GameCube. Viewtiful Joe is a 2003 beat-em-up platformer developed by Team Viewtiful and published by Capcom. Originally released as part of the legendary Capcom 5 under director Hideki Kamiya and producer Atsushi Inaba. We'll get into the history of this video game in a little bit, but before we go any further, make sure to subscribe to this channel and don't forget to hit that bell icon so you never miss any updates. Now without further ado, let's get it. Viewtiful Joe first dropped on the Nintendo GameCube in Japan on June 26, 2003, before heading to North America in October of the same year. It was later ported to the PlayStation 2 under Clover Studio, where it picked up the subtitle Aratenaru Kibo, which translates to A New Hope. At its core, Viewtiful Joe sticks to classic 2D side-scrolling beat-em-up. The game layers in platforming elements like double jumps and features intense combat against enemies attacking from every direction, including the foreground and background. Joe can punch, kick, and dodge attacks. Dodging perfectly even stuns enemies for big opening moves. And he has a set amount of health shown as life marks that can be replenished by grabbing hamburgers. But what really made Viewtiful Joe stand out was his innovative Viewtiful effects, or VFX powers. Using the VFX gauge at the top of the screen, Joe can manipulate the flow of battle with 3 cinematic superpowers. Slow, to power up attacks and sharpen reflexes. Mach speed, to unleash flurries of after-image strikes. And zoom in for devastating close-range finishers. Each ability drains the VFX gauge over time, but you can refill it by picking up bottles of VFX juice or earning extensions by collecting hidden V-films. Strategic combos, especially while using slow or chaining attacks together, rack up multipliers called X bonuses, earning tons of V points. Between stages, players can even spend their V points to unlock new moves, buy health upgrades, or stock up on items like the boomerang and shocking pink bombs. Each stage plays out like a series of interconnected scenes, and at the end of every level, players are graded based on points earned, time taken, and damage received. Finishing the game against different difficulties even unlocks extra playable characters, including Sylvia, Captain Blue, and Alistair, with Dante from Devil May Cry making a guest appearance on the PS2 version. Viewtiful Joe was critically acclaimed when it released, earning a 93 out of 100 on Metacritic for the GameCube version and 90 for the PS2 port. Reviewers praised its bold, cel-shaded visuals, deep combat, and intense challenge, with outlets like IGN calling it one of the best action games on the GameCube and PS2 of its time, and Eurogamer describing it as imaginative, beautiful, engaging, and above all else, entertaining. Game Informer even called it a completely original and highly entertaining work of art. However, not everything was perfect. Some reviews pointed out the lack of boss variety and noted performance issues like slowdown in the PS2 version. In terms of sales, the game had a modest but respectful performance. It sold through its initial GameCube shipment in Japan, and pre-orders in North America sold out through Capcom's website. The GameCube version ultimately moved about 275,000 units worldwide, while the PS2 version added another 46,000. While those numbers were lower than Capcom initially hoped, the game's small budget made it a relative commercial success, and its impact on gaming history was massive. So, let's get into the story. Viewtiful Joe kicks off in a movie theater, where Joe and his girlfriend Sylvia are enjoying an old-school tokusatsu film, starring the legendary but aging superhero, Captain Blue. Just when it seems Captain Blue has been defeated on screen, the movie's villains reach out of the screen, grab Sylvia, and pulls her into Movieland, a wild action-packed universe where the rules of cinema come to life. Joe barely has time to react before Captain Blue's giant robot, Six Majin, swoops in and whisks him into Movieland as well. Inside this chaotic film world, Joe learns that Sylvia has been kidnapped by an evil organization known as Jado. To help Joe fight back, Captain Blue grants him a V-Watch, a device that allows Joe to transform into a superhero by shouting the word Henshin. Joe, never one to be boring, adds his own flair, creating the now iconic catchphrase, Henshin a go-go, baby. With his new powers and a strong sense of purpose, Joe sets off to save Sylvia and defeat the forces of Jado. As the game progresses, Joe battles his way through various Movieland locations. Gritty cities, dangerous caves, underwater bases, even a submarine. often traveling in his trusty transforming aircraft, Six Machine. Along the way, he faces off against a colorful cast of villains, each tougher than the last. He defeats Dark Fiend Charles III, the hulking iron ogre Hulk Davidson, the slippery aquatic terror Grand Bruce, a twisted doppelganger of himself, and the deadly Blade Master, Alistair. Before facing Alistair, Joe learns that the villain's plan goes beyond just taking over Movieland. They need the DNA of the creator to escape into the real world, and Sylvia is the key. Determined to save her, Joe fights his way to the Jaddo's leader, Inferno Lord Fire Leo, and wins. But just as Sylvia is within reach, she's kidnapped once again. Joe and Six Machine rocket off into space for one final desperate chase. At the top of a space station, Joe finally finds Sylvia, and the real villain of the story reveals himself as Captain Blue. The once beloved hero confesses that he created the world of Movieland and that he is in fact Sylvia's long lost father. Consumed by bitterness over being forgotten by the real world, he plans to drain Sylvia's energy to breach into reality using his new form, the towering King Blue. Furious, Joe challenges him, calling out Blue for abandoning what it meant to be a true hero. They summon their giant mechas, Six Machine and King Blue, and battle it out in an epic showdown. Joe defeats King Blue, and the two abandon their machines for a final one-on-one fight inside the station. After Joe wins, Captain Blue comes to his senses and thanks Joe for saving both Sylvia and himself. He explains that 2 decades earlier, he had been a visionary filmmaker only to be cast aside and forgotten, driving him to escape into his own cinematic dream world. However, his obsession led him astray. Reunited with his daughter at last, Captain Blue warns Joe that their adventure is far from over. With a snap of his fingers, Blue triggers an alarm. The space station's computer announces that a fleet of UFOs is heading toward Earth. Blue tells Joe that not just once, but twice more heroes will be needed. As Joe tries to make his exit, Sylvia steps forward, asking for her own V-Watch so she can join in the fight too. With a flash of transformation, Sylvia becomes a hero as well. Side by side, Viewtiful Joe and Sylvia race off to the next great threat, ready for whatever crazy adventure comes their way. And that is the end of Viewtiful Joe. Yo, I loved this game as a kid. The fights were crazy. This man would jump up in the air, spin, do somersaults, twirl around. The slowdown mechanic would freeze villains. You mash them in their head, it would be crazy. Also, I would have my boy come over, we would play this, and anytime we pause it, we would just die laughing because this shit would be talking about bathroom break. I don't know if anybody else remembers that. Maybe that's just a weird, quirky thing that sticks out to me, but there was a lot of elements that made this game super addicting. I personally didn't play it on the PS2. I had the Nintendo GameCube version, so that's where I know it from. And honestly, it was one of my favorite GameCube games and probably still is to this day. And it wasn't until I made this video that I even remembered that Viewtiful Joe had a TV series that aired on Kids WB for 26 episodes, and even longer for 51 episodes, spawning 2 seasons in Japan, first premiering in 2004 and running until 2005. Technically 2005 to 2006 in the US, but hey, you get the point. Shit was popular. Other cool fact, Joe is obviously based on the Super Sentai characters. Shout out to the Power Rangers, well, the originals in Japan, Kamen Rider and Ultraman as well, hence the henshin and all that. It actually is a really cool callback, and at the time, I didn't pick it up, but I'm wondering if subconsciously I knew there was a connection there, and that's what really attracted me to the cover of this game. Because stylistically, bro looks weird as fuck, but it works. And speaking of designs, Alistair had such a cool design, bro. That purple shadowy aura over him. Bro was honestly the OG aura farmer. I don't care what anybody says. With that being said, thanks for watching the channel. Don't forget to click the like button, hit subscribe, and slap the bell icon so you never miss another update. Until next time, peace.